Hi everybody, this is a video on section 3.1 topics. Once again, you should have looked over the book, listened to either lecture notes or done something in preparation for reviewing this. This is a review, this is not a lecture. Now, the first thing in section 3.1 you should be familiar with is 1, defining and identifying statements. And so, what is a simple statement? That is the question. A simple statement expresses a single idea that is either going to be true or false. So, for example, I walked the dog. Single idea, walking the dog. It's either true or false. Items which are not simple statements or questions. Did you walk the dog? That's a question. Go walk the dog. That's a command. Okay? So a simple statement is a statement expressing a single idea, and it's either true or false. We don't care if it's true or false. We just know it's either going to be true or false. Now, the second thing you should be aware of are the logical connectives. The logical connectives are and, or, if and only if, and the if-then statement. The connectives join two or more simple statements and form what is referred to as a compound statement. So a compound statement consists of multiple simple statements that are joined together with one of these four connectives. Finally, the next thing you need to be aware of is the negation of a statement is a statement whose truth values are opposite of the given statement. So the negation of a statement. It is a statement whose truth values are opposite. Now this is important because you can get tricked into thinking something is the negation when it's not. I walk to the store. The negation of this is simply I do not walk to the store. Walk to the store. And the reason why? Well, if I walk to the store is true, then I do not walk to the store is false. If I don't walk to the store, then this one's false. Well, then this one's true. So it's not that difficult of an example of the negation. These are the simple ones. I do not drink milk. The negation of I do not drink milk is I drink milk. Because again, to make sure something is a negation is when this one's true, so I don't drink milk, this one's false. When this one's false, which means I do drink milk, this one's true. That's the idea of a negation. Two more things that you need to be aware of and entering this video here. One is writing a statement symbolically. That is, you have to keep in mind lowercase letters such as P, Q, and R are used to represent what? Simple statements. Okay? The symbol for the connective and is given by this symbol. The symbol for the connective or is given by this symbol. And the symbol for the connective if and only if is the double arrow. And the symbol for the connective if then is a one directional arrow. And then the symbol for negation is the tittle. Well, you need to make sure you know this. And, or, if and only if then, and negation. Lowercase letters only represent simple statements. They do not represent a compound statement. You need to be able to write symbolic statements in words. So for example, if you let P represent the simple statement I walk, and Q represent the simple statement you run, then this compound statement right here is P and Q. This statement here, compound statement, I walk or you run, is P or Q. The compound statement, I'll walk if and only if you run, would be P if and only if Q. If I walk, then you run, is the if-then statement. P implies Q. And then finally, I do not walk and you do not run would be the negation of P and the negation of Q. That's how this one. So you should be at least familiar with this much before moving on. This is the fundamental stuff that you should have looked over and are prepared to work with. Once again, you should be pausing the video, working the problem, and then playing the video to compare your answer to mine. Okay? All right. Now, for each sentence, determine whether or not it is a statement. Okay, a simple statement expresses a single idea which is either true or false. To tell somebody bye-bye isn't true or false. You're just saying bye-bye. Okay, so that is not a simple statement. That is not true or false. Something like, I told them bye-bye. See, I told them bye-bye would be a simple statement because you either told them bye-bye or you did not tell them bye-bye. 8 times 5 is 40. That is a statement. It expresses a single idea, and it's either true or false. Well, in this case, we know 8 times 5 is 40, so we definitely know it's true. But again, the point is, we're not concerned with something being true or false. It's just the fact that it is either true or false. Is your house painted blue? This is not a statement. This is a question. So this is not a statement. It's a question. The moon is the smallest planet. This is a statement. It expresses the idea that the moon is the smallest planet. Now, again, this is false. We know that, but the fact is it expresses an idea. And second, it's either true or false. So yes, this is a statement. Turn off the TV. That's a command. You're telling somebody to do something. That does not have a true or false answer to it. So no, this one is not. We're moving on. All right, for the following, we need to determine whether or not it is a negation of a statement. The negation of a statement is a statement whose truth values are opposite of the given statement. Now you have to be careful here. For very simple statements, it's quite easy to identify the negation. But when your statement contains a quantifier like all, every, some, at most, something like that, you do have to be a bit careful. Again, you should know what I mean because you should have read over the section of the book by now. But here's a statement, Keith is not wearing boots. So the negation of that would be, quote, the opposite. Well, Keith is wearing wristbands. No, that is not the negation of this. This is talking about wearing boots, where this is talking about wristbands. Those are not negations. Keith could be wearing boots or not wearing boots. Has nothing to do with wearing a wristband or not. It is not the case that Keith is wearing boots. It is not the case. You can say something in English many different ways, right? Keith is not wearing boots. Well, this is saying the same thing. Keith is not wearing boots. So this is not the negation. Keith is wearing tennis shoes. Keith is wearing tennis shoes. Well, I don't know. I think Keith could put his tennis shoes over his boots. Again, our simple statement is talking about Keith wearing or not wearing boots. It is not saying anything about tennis shoes, so this is not the negation. Keith is wearing boots. Now here we go. This is the negation because that is, quote, the opposite of not wearing boots. So you can quite obviously see that this is definitely a negation of this. It is not the case that Keith is wearing sandals. Once again, we're not even talking about sandals. So this statement has nothing to do with the statement we're talking about. So this is not a negation. You do have to be careful. This is logic. We are talking about boots. We're not talking about wristbands. We're not talking about tennis shoes. We're not talking about sandals, though. So these in no way, no form can have anything to do with this statement above. For the following statement, choose if it is a simple or compound statement. And if it's compound, choose which type it is. So, a simple statement expresses a single idea. A compound statement consists of two or more simple statements joined by a connective. So here's our statement. The crew will paint the house blue or green. The crew will paint the house blue or green. That is a compound statement. We have the word or, and the way it's expressed, it or is what? The disjunction. Now, I didn't really cover that in the beginning, but conjunction is and, disjunction is or, the conditional is the if-then, and the biconditional is the if and only if. Okay? So, conjunction and, disjunction, or, if then conditional, if and only if biconditional. This is the or, so it is a disjunction. All right, so I'm going to clear that out. Let me see if I can. Oh, that's it then. Okay, moving on to the next one. Okay, in this particular problem, we're given two simple statements. It is Monday, which is going to be represented by the lowercase letter p. There are students in the gym, which is going to be represented by the lowercase letter q. Now, we want to write out the symbolic form of the given statements below. Okay? So for A, we want to take it is Monday and there are students in the gym and write that in its symbolic form. So symbolic form means work with the letters and work with either the negation, and, or, if then, if and only if. In other words, we're getting rid of the context of the statement. And that's what we do in math. Math takes us away from the context, provides us methods which are independent of the context to, quote, solve the problem, and then we bring this back and we bring it back to the context of the problem. Okay? So we want to be independent of what the problem is actually about in order to go about solving it. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to learn how to convert a statement into its symbolic form. So it is Monday is represented by P. We have the connective and. There are students in the gym. That's represented by Q. So P and Q. Part B, it is Monday, represented by P. The connective or. That's a V-shaped thing. There are students in the gym, represented by Q. Now for C, we're given the symbolic form and we want to interpret the symbolic form and put it back into its descriptive form. Well, this is the negation symbol, and we're negating Q, which stands for there are students in the gym. Well, the negation of students in the gym is there are no students in the gym. So this is the descriptive form of this symbolic form. Again, similar problem. Once again, I'm not repeating myself anymore, but you should be pausing the video and working the problems out, then playing the video. All right? So we have, once again, two simple statements represented by P and Q. For A, we want to convert the descriptive form to the symbolic form. Well, in A, Rita is not wearing shorts. Well, Q represents Rita wearing shorts. That's the negation, so we know that's not Q. We have the connective or, which is the V-shaped thing. It is not summer. It is not summer is the negation of P. So there is our symbolic form for A. For B, it is false that Rita is wearing shorts or it is summer. Now you have to be careful here. You have to think about your rules for English. So your English skills can come into play here. It is false. That's a negation. But we're negating this entire statement here. Think parentheses. So the negation of Rita is wearing shorts, which is Q, or it is summer, which is represented by P. So I'll write this one out a little bit better here. Okay? Not Q or P. But notice the importance of the parentheses here. Okay? This is different than statement A, because B, we're saying is false that the entire statement given here. Okay? That's just like, you know, -1 minus 5 could be different than -1 minus 5 or something like that, right? Okay? So anyway, the point is be careful. Now, for C, we have the symbolic form. And since we have the symbolic form here to negate this, all right, so here we are negating P. The minus is not associated with Q. Look above. When we have the negation outside, we're negating the entire inside. The negation sign is not distributable. You cannot distribute the negation sign. All right? So what I'm saying here, not Q or P is not the same as not Q or not P. You can't do that. Look up De Morgan's law. If you want to see, look up De Morgan's law. Now, it is not P. It is not summer. This stands for and. So it is not summer. So it's between these two here. But then that's an and symbol. And then here's Q. And Q stands for Rita is wearing shorts. So this is our answer here. It is not summer and Rita is wearing shorts. Okay, for this problem here, we have two simple statements, P and Q. And we want to take, for A, convert this statement into its symbolic form. Well, if we look at this, we sell apples at the market is represented by Q. We sell beans at the market is represented by P. And notice we have an if-then statement, which is represented by the arrow. So it's Q, then P. For part B, we want to take the symbolic form and convert it over to the descriptive form. Well, if you look at the beginning of this, this is not P. Not P represents we do not sell beans at the market. We do not sell beans at the market is right here. Here's we do not sell beans at the market right here. But if you look at this, and I covered it up unfortunately, but if you look at that, that's an if and only if arrow. So that's an if and only if statement. So we know it's not this one because it's then. But here is the if and only if right here. So there's our double arrow. We know this is not P. Over here, we do not sell apples at the market. Not selling apples at the market is the opposite of Q, so that's not Q. So notice that this and this are the same, so the answer is the first one. All right, for our statement here, we want to decide if it's simple or compound. and whether or not it is a conjunction, disjunction, conditional, biconditional. In our statement, we have two simple statements right here. It's an if-then statement, so we know it's compound and it's a conditional. For our second statement here, my sister got married in Bloomtown. This is expressing one idea, getting married in Bloomtown. So this is not a compound statement, it is simple. Again, you do not see an and, an or, an if-then, or an if and only if in there. But it does express a single idea. Moving on. I think that was it. All right. We have two simple statements here, P and Q. We're being asked to express A in symbolic form. The car is black. That's P. The word or the conjunction is and. That's this symbol here. The car is a hatchback. That's represented by Q. For B, the car is not a hatchback. That's the negation of Q. For C, we're being asked to take this symbolic form and write it in the descriptive form. So it's Q, which is the car is a hatchback. So it's between, well, it's actually between all three of them right now. But here's the connective, or, so it's between these two. P stands for the car is black. Well, the car is black. It can't be A because that's the negation. So is the car is a hatchback or the car is black. Okay, so we have two statements here, two simple statements. You read them. We're taking the descriptive form and converting it over to the symbolic form. We are not having sushi. That's the negation of P. And is this symbol. It is not Saturday. That's the negation of Q. So not P and not Q. For B, we're saying it is Saturday, but we are not having sushi dinner. So it is Saturday is represented by Q. Not having sushi dinner is not P. Now, what's our connective? Well, aren't we saying both? That it's Saturday and we're not having sushi dinner? There it is. It's the and. And means both. So Q and not P. For C, we want to take the symbolic form and convert it to the descriptive form. Notice that we're negating inside the parentheses. So we're starting off with it is not. So we see it's between the first and the last one. It is not the case that P stands for having sushi dinner, or, that's the symbol for or, it is Saturday. We're having sushi dinner, or it is Saturday. So it's this one here. Our next one, two simple statements. We're giving in the descriptive form. We want the symbolic form. There are monkeys at the zoo. There are monkeys at the zoo. That's P. Here's our connective, if and only if. That's the double arrow. There are no tigers at the zoo. That's the negation of Q. So P, if and only if, not Q. For B, we want to take the symbolic form and convert it to the descriptive form. Now this is an if-then statement, but the beginning is the negation of Q, not the negation of the statement itself. Again, this is different than not Q implies P. So this is saying if there are no tigers, then there are monkeys. If there are no tigers, then there are monkeys at the zoo, right? No tigers, but monkeys. So it's the second one. Okay, for the last one here, I believe this is the last one, but this one's a little bit tricky. You have to be careful. We have two simple statements here. You have to remember, in English you can say things so many different ways. So let's read the first descriptive form. We are not going riding only if it is fall. We are not going riding only if it is fall. So how is this written in symbolic form? What type of statement is this? All right, so we are not going riding only if it is fall. So what we're saying that if we don't go riding, it has to be fall, right? If we're not going riding. If we're not going riding, it has to be fall, right? So it's an if-then statement. It is not fall if and only if we're not going riding. At least we have the if and only if here, right? But you can say English different ways, so sometimes you don't see the connectives, but they're being implied. So it is not fall, which is the negation of P. If and only if we're not going riding, which is the negation of Q. The last one, we have this statement here. We're going riding if and only if it is not fall. We're going riding if and only if it is not fall. There we go.